This is Boomer Time, a proactive podcast for baby boomers, about baby boomers, and for people taking care of baby boomers. If that sounds like you, then you're in the right place. I'm Nancy Kogar, an elder law attorney and aging advocate, and this podcast was made just for you. Remember, though, the things we discuss here are not intended to be legal advice, and no attorney-client relationship is established by this podcast. Welcome to Boomer Time, folks. This is Nancy Kogar, your faithful host. I'm back again, and I'm here with my friend and colleague, fellow attorney, Drew Clements. Drew, I appreciated you. You were in episode 22 with us, which I encourage people to go back and listen to because we had our clerk and master and her staff talking about probate, which is a very often confusing topic. And you and I talked about some of the things that we hear. So appreciate you sticking around.
Yeah, I thought that episode was very insightful. I know there's a lot of people that would pay good money to get some of that information. So making that available to the public is a huge benefit, I think.
Good point. You know, I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said, lawyers' worth is time.
Certainly.
Because we're thinking about things and issue spotting and trying to make sense of complicated things. People don't realize that.
Definitely. And Robin used to be a fantastic attorney before she was the clerk and master. And I think getting a peek under the hood with her take on a lot of stuff is huge.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. And she's so approachable that way. Let's appreciate it. So, but I'm glad you're here today, of course. And one thing I neglected to do in the last episode was to allow you to introduce yourself, because I just feel like you're a regular here anyway. But if folks want to get in touch with you, tell them where they can get in touch with you and kind of what your practice includes.
Sure. So I am with Clements and Eubanks. We are a firm dedicated to elder law and the practice with elders. Dealing with estate planning, probate, Medicaid planning. I do a little bit of family law. We deal with real estate, small businesses, stuff like that. Our website for now is clementslawfirm.com. Of course, we're happy to pick up the phone and talk with anyone at 423-713-7749. And we're conveniently located right up the street from you, which is why I love swinging by here. And we have a great time working with you, working with your firm. Yeah. And we always enjoy the fellowship we have.
Yeah, I agree. You know, people probably think lawyers are at each other all the time, but, you know, we do spend a lot of time together, but not just fighting. We're collaborating and trying to work things out.
So. I think everyone can have friendly squabbles. You know, you can be friends with your adversaries.
Yes, I agree. And, of course, I'm a partner here with Samples Jennings Clement Fields, and just wanted to. Sometimes I forget to mention that. So
no one could forget the lady with the podcast.
Oh yes, Jennings, right? Yes. I was sharing before we began that I've been getting phone calls from some of you, which I appreciate, and emails, and you know I love the feedback. And one lady called and said, "My brother's trying to force me to do something with my parents' estate, and I don't like it. I need to talk to the lady with the podcast." So that is why this is here, folks. I'm trying to make the complex more simple so that you can understand it, be better prepared. And then when you need help, there's trusted lawyers like Drew and myself who can come and, stand alongside you and help you with your circumstances. So that's the way it should work, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think this is a benefit for our friends, our neighbors here in town, but also for anyone in the area, really.
Absolutely. And our area just keeps getting bigger.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. Well, so today we are going to talk about some of the questions that come up often when we have someone call us and share with us that, a family member, friend, some spouse has passed away, and they often say, "I don't know what I'm supposed to do," right? I mean, that's honest and And that's a lot of times what I hear. I don't know what to do.
Well, no one really prepares you for, you've lost a loved one, no matter whether this was a long time coming with an illness or whether it was something sudden. And even outside of all the legal stuff that we do, there's just so much that you're inundated with. And you don't even have the time to grieve necessarily before you just want to get a jump on stuff and check stuff off your to-do list.
Yeah. And not to mention, as you did, claims that they may be facing from a medical issue that had lingered for a long time, and not having access to assets because after someone dies, a lot of times those get frozen unless they have joint or have some other designation on them.
The bank doesn't want to talk to you till you've had a visit with probate court or really talk to an attorney to get situated sometimes.
Well, that's what I'm looking forward to, that you and I can put some perspective and shed some light on those types of issues and kind of talk through some of the questions we hear most often. So thank you for agreeing to be here again, and I'm looking forward to it. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we will be back. Nancy Kogar and Drew Clements talking about probate. Stick with us. Welcome back to Boomer Time. This is Nancy Kogar, and I am joined today by my fellow attorney, colleague, and friend, Drew Clements. And we are talking probate. So we both deal with a lot of probates and a lot of estate planning, which can lead to probates. Sometimes probates, as you said, can lead to estate planning because if they didn't do it right the first time, then the ones that are surviving want to make sure that they don't do that.
Right. Sometimes it's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
For better or for worse.
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of brainstormed a little bit together about some of the biggest questions we hear oftentimes. So we're going to try to work through those. One of them, when you get that initial call, of course, I said earlier, I don't know what to do, or what do I need to do to start a probate? What do I need to bring to you? Those are some of the things I hear often.
Right. So I have folks coming to me all the time asking about a probate, and I want to know, tell me about the family, tell me about the assets, and tell me what are your goals in this? Is it just to get more information? Is it to just get out of this as quickly as possible? What do you want to do? So I think it makes sense to start with family and assets. What's there to be had? Let's start there. And then, of course, the biggest question is, did this person have a will or not?
Right.
If they had a will, the will's going to dictate how things shake out.
Right.
If there isn't a will, then Tennessee state law is going to dictate how things shake out.
And those are those two tracks we talked about in episode 22, testate or intestate.
Right. And testate being with a last will and testament. Intestate meaning your person doesn't have the benefit of having a will.
Right.
How do you like to start those conversations with people?
A lot of the same things. I oftentimes if someone says to me, well, my dad died, and I'm going to be in town on Tuesday, and can I come see you, and what do you need from me? Well, a lot of times I'll say, well, like you said, did he have a will? Do you have the will? Do you know where the will is? Do you have access to it? And I'm not just talking a copy. You need the original will.
Right. The original is the only thing that matters.
Yeah. You don't have that, you got a whole other host of problems. So I make sure they have the original, bring that with them. And then, I've got an intake sheet that I ask common questions about assets, family members, things like that we're going to need when we draft the petition. And death certificate, just try to get an idea of what the circumstances are with the family, because everybody's different, and,
right.
And, a lot of people die unexpectedly. Some people have been sick for a long time, like you said. Sometimes people don't have the greatest relationships, and then they have a family member die. So it's it's a delicate issue, like you said before.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think we have to dive right into the family dynamic and just kind of get right into, who's talking to who's not talking. Is there any hope of anyone kind of getting back on speaking terms at this point?
Is there a problem child?
Yeah. So.
Right. Yeah. So another question that I often hear is, how much is this going to cost? What's this process all about?
I just had a lady come to me yesterday and ask me that. And I said, often I need to meet with you first and figure out what are the assets that we're dealing with here.
Right. Because that means the time that's invested.
Right.
Right.
I need to know, is there a lot of real estate? Or is there a lot in investments? Do we really need to deal with some bozo family members that are doing something they shouldn't? So it can be variable. But one thing I think helps people wrap their minds around that is oftentimes us attorneys can get paid by those assets. And we can kind of get paid on the back end. Some folks charge a small upfront fee just to get started.
That's what I do.
That's what our office does as well. Just give us a little bit so we can get some initial stuff put up, and then we can knock out the lion's share of everything on the back end when the probate's ultimately finally administered.
Right. Because most often, and it's a priority, under the statute, the attorneys get paid for the work they've done from the probate estate.
Right.
So that's helpful as well.
Definitely. And I think it helps folks be able to manage this. Other kinds of litigation, you got to pay your own freight, and I really can't get started till you've paid a hefty sum for my retainer. With probate, you can really meet anyone at any level and really get involved oftentimes. And I think that is what's so great about it, is we're able to help people out without having to worry too much about the economic circumstances they find themselves in.
Yeah, there's some flexibility there. And, we were talking about what we face too. That can depend. Like you said, sometimes I have clients that come in and just push a big, pile of papers my way and say, help me with this. I can't sort through this, So that's a labor intensive case, most likely.
Right.
Or there's others that say, well, I've got this, this, and this, and the rest I think I can handle. And, I think that's fine. And something like that would be less expensive, but just kind of depends on how much time we have vested.
Right. Yeah. We can be chameleons with people and kind of shift to what they need.
So one other question I want to bring up before we take a quick break. I'm sure you hear this all the time too. What are letters testamentary and how do I get them?
Those are great questions. That's letters issued by the court that say this is a valid will. You are the person who is supposed to be the executor or the successor executor. You are now empowered and authorized to take action on behalf of the estate. You get that golden ticket by going to probate court. You got to see Robin Miller that we had speak on the last episode.
And of course, the letters testamentary are when we have a will. So that's most of the time you hear letters testamentary, but it may be that you have an estate where there was no will, and then you're going to get letters in that too, but they're called letters of administration.
Right. So, different letters that ultimately do about the same thing.
Yeah.
But with letters testamentary, you got to have a will. And easy way to remember that is the last will and testament. You're going to get testamentary letters.
And they do have a fancy gold seal on them.
It's a very nice gold seal.
Yeah.
It looks very nice.
And that's most of the time the bank, someone's gone to the bank and they say, nope, you need letters testamentary. And then that's when you get the call.
Right. Because the bank could be dealing with anyone. And until they've got authority and kind of that safeguard from the court to know that they can deal with that person on behalf of the estate.
Right.
They really don't want to deal with just anyone walking up and asking for some bank accounts.
Because they're custodians of the decedent's assets. So they need something from the court to authorize them to do that. So we're going to take a quick break, I think. But this is fun.
It certainly is. I'm enjoying just talking through the mechanics here.
Yeah. So we'll be right back. Thanks, and we're back at Boomer Time, and I hope you're enjoying Boomer Time. I know I'm enjoying it, and I'm hoping that it's helpful to you. I'm going to give you more information at the end, too, how you can get in touch with me, and then you can find out about some more resources, because you know how I love resources. I want to get those in your hands. Well, I've got my friend, fellow attorney, Drew Clements, with me here. We were working through some questions that we hear often. And I think the ones that we discussed before the break are really kind of the ones that come up over and over and over again, you know. Here's another one. How long is all this going to take?
That's everyone's favorite question.
Yeah.
Is how long does this take? The easy answer that I give people is up to 1 year.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about statutes and legal codes is there's all sorts of little pitfalls and plot holes in there. So it could be 4 months. It could be 60 days. Typically, you're going to be waiting on this for 1 year.
Yep.
Most title companies don't really want to fool with anything until after 1 year. Even if you sell some real estate, they probably want to hold it in escrow for up to 1 year. But there's ways to cut off creditors' claims and deal with a lot of that. How do you tell people, it's 1 year?
I sound much more lawyerly. I say, it depends.
There you go. That is our favorite response.
It depends. But, in Tennessee, you have several different options when it comes to probate, too. So it just kind of depends on the issue. So it does depend.
Certainly.
Right? Yeah. But yeah, I admit, you've got that 4-month notice period, and then you've got 6 months. You've got a 1 year absolute statute of limitations. And then you've got a 10-care statute of limitations. But that requires notice too.
Mm-hmm.
So
and you've got your will contest statute of limitations for 2 years.
I know. This is why you need a lawyer. One of the reasons.
That's it.
One of the reasons.
Another big question we always get is, when do I get mine? When do I get my inheritance? When do I get what's coming to me?
Yeah. I need a date.
Yeah, exactly. I think that kind of goes hand in hand with how long is this going to take?
Yeah.
As soon as we can get a client the funds that by all rights should be coming to them, we do. And there's nothing better than getting a client those funds, is there?
No, it's great. And I often say too, well, if everyone's cooperating, it get to you sooner than later.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah. And our court now, our probate court, is requiring when you sell a house through probate for those monies to go into the registry of the court. So that requires some additional action on our part, but it's done for the reason of wanting to protect those funds.
It's a safeguard.
Yeah. Because we've had fiduciaries who are not doing what they're supposed to do before, and issues with money leaving town, and then people not getting what they're supposed to get, forgetting to tell people they have family members. It's
dealing with forgetful folks. It comes up a bit more than you'd expect in probate.
Yeah. So the judge did that, I think, just to avoid an issue coming up. And
Definitely.
And everybody's got to do it. So that's just the way it goes. And speaking of which, another big issue, of course, is claims and debts and things like that. And we can do a lot as lawyers when it comes to some of those things. And you and I were talking also that, people have a misconception about some of those debts as well, which...
It's funny because most people, like myself, I owe a debt. I got to pay this, and I need to do it real quick. I don't want to fool with collections. I don't want it to hit my credit score. I don't want any of that. The deceased person's debts are only really going to affect the assets left behind in probate.
Right.
The administrator or the executor, those aren't their personal debts. It's only the debt of the estate. And there's a lot of strategy in addressing any claims that come in. Mm-hmm. And until a creditor files a claim in probate court, you don't necessarily have to pay it.
Right. And they may not. So
and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of gamesmanship, even when they do file a claim.
Exactly.
There's creative ways us attorneys, crafty little attorneys can get through and save some of the
sage and wise.
Yeah, there we go. We're wise, and we know how to preserve assets of the estate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I see this in bankruptcy also, but there are different kinds of debts. There's unsecured debts, credit cards. There's secured debts, which is attached to real estate, for example. Then there's priority claims that come in, funeral expenses, TennCare, those kinds of things. So you really, I liken it to a minefield with some of these things. You really need an advocate helping you to negotiate some of those things, because if you didn't know what you should pay or shouldn't pay, or you don't have to pay, that could cost you a lot of money.
Definitely. And it's stuff that you're volunteering to these creditors that you maybe didn't have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't have any trouble. They're not going to tell you don't owe it.
No, they're crafty themselves.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But to that point of this being a minefield, I think when people ask us, why do I need a lawyer?
Yeah. That's a perfect example.
You got to navigate a lot of this stuff that just isn't common knowledge, and it's stuff that can be kind of a case within a case sometimes too. And navigating all of this on kind of managing all the assets, paying claims, dealing with interpersonal and interfamily conflicts.
Going back to that question, how much is this going to cost? I know with a lot of probates, I've saved them a lot of money when it comes to the claims process. So, that's the power of having an advocate on your side.
Being able to add that kind of value and show a specific dollar figure saved is so rewarding to me.
Yeah, me too.
I know it is to you.
Yeah. And, that's part of the process. But I so agree that, and I will say, and you and I were talking about this, that in our court in Hamilton, we practice in other courts, but primarily in Hamilton County, the chancellor there does not want anyone representing themselves, because really you can't practice law without a license. And if you're trying to represent yourself, that's fine. But in this instance, you're representing the estate as a fiduciary.
Right. You can't necessarily represent yourself in this. This is in the same way that if you own an LLC, you can't represent yourself at court because you're an LLC. You're just a member. Yeah. That is another complexity of probate court, that you just got to have a learned hand to kind of guide you on a lot of this.
And sometimes I'll get calls from people that have called down to the probate court, and they say, well, they wouldn't help me, and they said I need a lawyer. Well, they're just trying to do their jobs. They're trying to enforce the law. They can't give you legal advice about who to call, so it's a busy place down there. So, but that's what we're here for.
That is what we love to do, too.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
We enjoy helping out folks in probate. We enjoy some of the headaches sometimes, too.
Yeah. Nothing more satisfying than figuring out something complex. Right?
Yeah. I often get folks asking me why are you a lawyer, or what's the most rewarding thing? And I think it's figuring out these complex challenges for folks. And it's rewarding to help people out at the end of the day. So taking the complex and making it simple.
Yeah. I just love when people come in and they're so nervous and they don't know what to do. And then they leave and they say, I feel so much better.
Definitely. And a lot of it is just, this is something they probably could have done themselves without an attorney. But you don't know what you don't know until you know. No.
I always say you wouldn't want to do brain surgery on yourself. So.
No.
That'd be a little complex.
Get a little handheld mirror.
Yeah. I can't even brush my hair in the back of my head properly. So, well, this has been fun. And I do appreciate you being here for both the episodes, Drew. And I hope you do come back, because I think you offer a lot to the conversation here. And you and I kind of share a like-minded kind of objective in trying to help people and offer a service, and I just admire what you do. So
definitely. Well, hey, likewise, and I think we're cut from the same cloth. We're both NSL grads.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, Pratt alumni.
Yes, Nashville School of Law.
we're very excited about that. But I think we also enjoy working together, and I'll keep coming back as long as you'll have me.
Yeah, awesome. I'm going to get your dad here too. So your dad's a lawyer also.
Yeah, we need to drag him out here and get his 2 cents on all this.
Pepper him with all kinds of complex questions.
Yeah. Make him squirm.
Yeah. So, we're going to wrap things up today. But before I go on to just offer some more information to folks, Drew, why don't you tell folks again how they can get in touch with you?
Sure. So I am with Clements and Eubanks. We have offices in Chattanooga and Nashville. If you will visit our website at currently it's clementslawfirm.com. We expect to have clementseubanks.com up very soon. But in any event, please give me a call. Our number is 423-713-7749, and we pride ourselves on being a responsive firm.
Yeah. And you're right around the corner from us here.
Yes, and for those who don't know where you're practicing, tell us a bit more about your firm.
Well, I'm over here on Jordan Drive, and part of my wonderful firm with all my partners here at Samples, Jennings, Clement Fields, and we all have different things that we do. So if you're not looking for estate planning, we've got adoption services, we've got divorce, we've got business. Entity creation and litigation, trying to sort out some of that. And just kind of a lot of lawyers who have been practicing for a long time. And with that comes experience. And, when you've been through something once or twice, then you share that and it just kind of goes on. And that's just helpful to people.
And everyone's very well respected in their fields too.
Yes. And I'm in Hoyt Samples' old office, so I'm hoping that some of his genius
just soaks in.
Yeah. So, well, thanks, Drew. Like I said, it's just fun to have you here on Boomer Time. So this has been another full show today. I've enjoyed these 2 episodes on probate, and I hope you found it helpful too out there. And if you like this podcast, do us a favor and like it and follow us. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and even Google. We're going to be on YouTube soon. So, and better yet, share this with a friend. Help us get more people on board so they can be better prepared for all these complex issues that come up as we age. And just so many people are aging these days that, it's just, you need to get on the front end of it. And if you want to reach out to me, you can do that at nancykogar.com. I've got a newsletter and you can get on the list for that. Or if you've got a question, I always like to hear from you. So, and as I always say too, I'm a person of faith. So I like to share encouragement. And I just encourage you, if you're feeling lost or confused, or maybe you've had someone pass away in your life, there are advocates available for you. And there's 2 of them right here. So
I think we both pride ourselves on being available and being a good resource for folks in those challenging times.
Yeah. And if we don't know the answer, we can find somebody who does.
I love connecting people with other professionals. If it's not something I can help out with, chances are I know someone who can.
Exactly. So, well, folks, all you out there, you all have a wonderful rest of your week. And we will see you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye.